What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another NBA video and discussion video to kind of go over with you guys. This time actually revolving around the New York Knicks. I actually haven't done a Knicks video in quite a bit. There hasn't been too much Knicks news recently. You know, it's pretty much been after the 2 weeks of real heavy Knicks news that we have been recently getting. But yeah, in the last week or so, hasn't exactly been too much to talk about. But there was this one topic that I kind of wanted to bring up. And that's, are the New York Knicks still interested in Giannis Antetokounmpo? So for those of you who didn't know, there's been a lot of rumors going around recently that the Miami Heat and the Golden State Warriors are currently the front runners for Giannis. And there's also been a couple other teams here and there that have also been interested in him. You know, a couple of these teams include the Toronto Raptors as well, who seem to kind of be a front runner at this point. I feel like they're right behind Golden State and Miami, even though Golden State and Miami are supposedly the 2 teams leading. I still think Golden State's probably leading, Miami second, and obviously, yeah, I think Toronto are third. But what happened to the New York Knicks? Like, I mean, there was a lot of rumors actually going around that, you know, the Knicks were going to actually try and get Giannis, and they've kind of gone away, which is extremely weird. Like, I would have expected them to kind of had big news to do with him, but it looks like they've actually got, you know, different priorities coming into this offseason when it's coming to, you know, many different players and trades they could potentially be making. And obviously one of those players include Chris Paul, who seems to be a player that the New York Knicks, you know, are very heavily interested in. For example, for those of you who didn't know about this, there is currently a big rumor going around right now that the New York Knicks are actually really interested in Chris Paul and LaMelo Ball, which would be extremely interesting to kind of put both of these guards together and kind of create this backcourt to see how it would go and all of that type of stuff. For example, what the plan is actually doing is Chris Paul would play, you know, he would defend the point guard position, then LaMelo Ball would defend the shooting guard position. But then when it actually came to offense, LaMelo Ball would now, you know, predominantly bring the ball up the court, be like the main point guard, the number 1 point guard, while Chris Paul would kind of, you know, play that off-ball type of role, what he's kind of played at Houston with James Harden, has played a bit, you know, with OKC, while, you know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Dennis Schroeder have been facilitating the ball. So I could definitely see, you know, something like that happening, and this kind of just, well, says, are the Knicks really looking at Giannis? I mean, my honest opinion, I still think they'll be interested in Giannis. I just think they're going to take a way different direction, and a direction I think New York Knicks fans should be extremely happy about. For example, I've heard some Knicks fans, you know, really want Chris Paul, and then I've heard Knicks fans say that they shouldn't get Chris Paul. Look, pretty much I'm going to give the exact reason of why getting Chris Paul to the New York Knicks would be literally like the most perfect thing they could possibly do, and that's the fact that in like the last 10 years, the Knicks haven't had like any, you know, predominant point guards throughout a year. I mean, they had Jeremy Lin for like 20 games. He was pretty dominant in those games. They've had Raymond Felton, who's just a below average starting point guard for a couple of years, and he's probably been their best. A lot of, you know, point guards in the league are usually the most experienced ones and sometimes lead the teams and all of that type of stuff. I think it's just, you know, it's something that the Knicks really need. They need a leader and a player who can get a team to the playoffs. Like, look at Chris Paul. He's single-handedly pretty much, you know, taken OKC to the playoffs. I mean, he's made others around him so much better. Steven Adams and Danilo Gallinari are literally so good now because of him. You know, they were already pretty respectable players before Chris Paul, you know, came to the team and all this type of stuff. And when Gilgeous-Alexander got there as well, he's improved quite a bit. And Gallinari's taken his game to, you know, another next level than what he had done at the Clippers. And Adams as well has been pretty decent with Paul. He just, you know, makes players around him even better. So that's why I think it would be literally awesome for him to go to the Knicks, where he can lead the young players and try and get them to the playoffs. And then you're kind of building a team which would be pretty cool of Chris Paul at point guard, LaMelo Ball at shooting guard, RJ Barrett at small forward. Then you've already got a nice 3 right there. You got Mitchell Robinson at center, and obviously there's reports that they're going to trade Julius Randle to the Oklahoma City Thunder to get Chris Paul. But this kind of just brings it up on, I don't actually think the Knicks' top priority anymore is to get Giannis. We've obviously seen now in recent times that the Knicks have struck out trying to get free agents. I mean, I believe they've tried for LeBron James for literally like the last 10 years and just couldn't sign him. They've also tried for, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, where they were pretty much, fans were convinced they were going to get both of them. Both of them actually ended up going to the Brooklyn Nets in free agency, so the Knicks definitely missed out there. I honestly think that Giannis is definitely not going to join the Knicks unless they are good. And, to get good in a year or so, I think they definitely need to develop this young core even more. They need to draft, I think they need to draft a smart pick and get Chris Paul. I think LaMelo Ball is definitely the player they should draft. If they have pick 5, then they've got to trade up to try and get LaMelo Ball. He is their #1 priority. And I think Chris Paul is definitely probably the #2. Getting both of those players to the team, it may not sound that difficult, but again, they've got to win the lottery. It might not be that possible to trade up, even though I think they'll be able to. Look, OKC might have a ridiculous asking price for Chris Paul, which I really doubt it, but those two, it shouldn't exactly be that hard, but again, there's going to be obviously some complication or something will most likely happen. Like, who knows? Maybe the Knicks will actually win the lottery and draft LaMelo Ball. Or if not, they're going to have to trade up to get him. But I think that the Knicks are just taking this different approach. An approach that doesn't revolve around hype. They've taken the previous years where they've revolved all around hype. We're going to sign Kevin Durant. We're going to sign Kyrie Irving. And then the Knicks don't end up signing anyone at all except for Julius Randle and Taj Gibson. So, again, this approach is definitely much more, I'd say, smart, and they've got to build up, they've got to just build up the team and build a place where people actually want to go. Players want to go play there because they know the Knicks are going to be good. They're going to be the big market team that they're supposed to be instead of that rebuilding team that they've been ever since, pretty much Carmelo Anthony came out of his prime and, the team pretty much fell apart. So, again, that's just what the New York Knicks, in my opinion, need to do. And that's why Chris Paul would be the perfect player. There's even rumors that they're actually going to try and sign Danilo Gallinari to partner back up with Chris Paul. I think that would be a pretty cool idea if they can get him on a pretty decent deal. Like, that would be a main team. Like, if they could, somehow make that happen. Chris Paul at point guard, LaMelo Ball at shooting guard, RJ Barrett at small forward. And then you got Danilo Gallinari at power forward and Mitchell Robinson at center. Look, I think that could be an 8 seed starting 5, but then that bench is probably going to be absolutely terrible. I think they're definitely going to need to sign some players here and there if they would want to compete for an 8 seed or something like that, but I definitely think they could actually do it if they were able to bring in, LaMelo Ball, Chris Paul, and Gallinari. I think that would be absolutely insane. I definitely think the Knicks could actually, make some moves, and I do expect their young core to eventually get better. But, yeah, even though that might be like an 8 seed starting 5, their bench is still pretty terrible. I mean, they don't exactly have really too much fancy players or anything special coming off their bench. And, yeah, again, they would most likely be trading Randall for Paul anyway, so they wouldn't have him on the team again. So that's just how I see it. I still, to answer the question, I still think the New York Knicks are going to be interested in Giannis. I just think that he's not really their plan anymore because they'll most likely not think they're going to be able to get him, and they're going to want to develop their young core. And also, I think they're pretty, heavily convinced on potentially getting Chris Paul and LaMelo Ball, which is the obvious smart decisions. And now I think, Danilo Gallinari, who is a very, very good player in my opinion, he's a realistic player they could actually potentially sign if they brought in Chris Paul as well. So, not only would they be bringing in Chris Paul, but they could also be bringing in Danilo Gallinari. So, I think that's definitely going to be the move for the New York Knicks. And who even knows, this could literally change their whole entire, pretty much how they play. I've heard there's literally been rumors as well that they're going to be interested in Carmelo Anthony and just other power forwards here and there. But, yeah, again, as I was saying, that bench is really going to need to improve. Like, I mean, there's literally like no one. Knicks probably have, I think from remembrance, one of the worst benches in the NBA. I mean, they've got Kevin Knox coming off the bench, who hasn't been that good at all. Elfrid Payton, who's probably he's probably a bench player. He's currently starting for them right now. Reggie Bullock's an alright bench player. Alonzo Trier, he's alright. Dotson's okay. Frank Ntilikina's okay. Taj Gibson. It's just a pretty average. It's like a below average bench. There's nothing, as I was saying, special about the bench at all. Like, if they were, able to sign a certain player here and there as well, maybe like a Goran Dragic or something like that, I think that would be a pretty sick move for the New York Knicks. But again, they're definitely going to have to work on that bench as well. So, yeah, I don't really know what's going on with Giannis. It doesn't look like the Knicks, have expressed any interest in him recently. I believe they will still be interested because why wouldn't they be? I mean, that would be absolutely crazy if they weren't interested in him at all. But yeah, there's definitely, I like this new direction that the Knicks are kind of going in, which is, you know, kind of going in for players that they could actually try and trade for. Players that they know they could potentially get that are actually well-proven stars and are good enough, like Chris Paul, maybe Danilo Gallinari. Carmelo Anthony, you know, reports are as well. He's a pretty good player. I would like to see them maybe go after Goran Dragic as well. I think would be a pretty interesting move. But yeah, again, I'm liking this new direction by the Knicks. But of course, I still think they'll be interested in Giannis. But he's not exactly their main focus anymore. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for the latest NBA content and NBA news. Don't forget to comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Do you guys think the New York Knicks should try and sign Giannis? Do you guys think they'll still be interested in him? Again, I definitely would really like to know your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlog channels. Links for them will be all in the description down below. And also, don't forget to check out my podcast as well if you haven't already. Links for that will also be in the description down below as well. But as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.